Hello, listeners, and welcome back to ND 5.18. And as always, I am your host, Ender. First off, I want to thank you all for the support on the first part of this Delusions of Commander. I would also like to apologize if my voice sounds different. I recently got a cold and I'm trying to get better, but I wanted to go ahead and get this video out there. Now, in the first part of this series, we did 1 through 5. This will be covering 6 through now 10. It was 9 initially, but I had a point that I found a way to put into words. So now, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so now point 5, which it will be our point 1 for this, the archetypes of decks. Okay, now this one is very beginner friendly topic right here. There's the aggro, which is reducing your opponent's life from the 40 to 0 as fast as possible. The slide, which is using creature and burn instead of just majority burn like the first part. You may be asking, like, that's not really possible in Commander. True, it's a very specific tribe that can get it done most efficiently, but it's possible. It's just a little harder to do. Then there's just tempo, which has a very, very efficient way of doing things in Commander without the bounce spells over the years. Mono blue definitely takes a cake in that, as always. Combo is what you normally come across in so many different forms, be it from tutoring, be it from planeswalkers, be it from your graveyard. Like, combo will always have a home here. Control is viable, though it's harder to control more than one person at a time, which is where my favorite thing to do, prison, tends to be a really good boon for it. Then there's mid-range, which is the value players, which you will always come across. And they just keep getting new toys. Wizards loves them. And I just want to mention a subcategory of all this, which is graveyard decks. And like I said, you've seen a graveyard deck be everything. Be aggro, a combo, mid-range. It can even be tempo if you want it to be. So you can't really take any of these categories that I've just listed as the only ones. No, there's subcategories that fit into 1 to 2 or all of these in a niche. Okay, now this point is different from the other ones, and then the fact that I do not have no amazing story behind it, why this is on the list. It's just to point out that I think some people are condensing, like, and only seeing specific things. Like, I understand some of y'all want to say jank is one of these archetypes. It's not. Jank is a player style, which is a whole separate point on this list. So don't worry, y'all will get your time to shine. And and just taking that into effect, I will go on to the play styles, which I do have some stories about. Okay, next point, which point number 2, play styles of players. The value player. These are the ones that say, I just want to draw cards. That's all. I'm not doing anything. I'm just drawing cards, man. They will purposely put the table at a bad position just to draw more cards, just to see more of their deck. And some of them are sneaky. Some of them are actively doing this, churning through their deck to find the win condition. But then there are the worst ones, that there is no win condition in there. They're just doing it just because. Those ones hurt my heart. Because as I said in the first part, you have to win the game at some point. You have to. Otherwise, you're just wasting our time. It's like, if you take like 30, 40 minutes of you turning through your deck just because you want to see all your cards, you could have played by yourself. That's solitaire right there. And if you interrupt their value, you get an immeasurable amount of hate just because you want to keep the game moving. Like that will get you focused by the value player. That will get all the politics turned against you because you stop them from drawing cards. You stop them from doing, look at this cool interaction. And let's be honest, a lot of players when they first get into Commander, they are value players. Until some nightmare story happens where someone stopped the value and they have to actually, try to win. Okay? If you're a fan of MTG Goldfish, that's an example of Seth and Phil, right? Phil just happy to be value. Seth is doing value to lull you into a type of comfortability. Okay? Now, the second type of player style is hater. You may think, oh, isn't it just all Magic players? You're right. You are right about that. But more specifically, the hater is a player that hates a particular type of deck style, hates a particular color or colors, hates a specific card type like artifacts or sorceries, instants, or creatures, non-creatures. They have a blanket that is just them saying, I've lost a lot to this. I do not like what this does against my play style. I do not like what this does against my favorite type of card itself. And they just will make you pay for it. Okay. First story. What happens when there's a blue hater at the table and there's a mono blue player at the table? Shenanigans. That's what. So in instance, I played with a player called Player A, right? I knew he hated blue. I knew it. I knew he hated blue and he hated black. Now, I play all colors. Like, I have my favorite too, but then I have this little decks I've made that just have a certain plan that they're trying to do, and I just enjoy them, right? In that instance, him hating on blue and black never really bothered me. Then we had a new player get introduced, and they loved mono blue. That was their thing. They were a tempo player, diehard, in every format. So we can call him Player B. Player A here had a card called Scald. Now, if you've seen my red color breakdown, you know what Scald do. But for you all that didn't, I'm going to tell you. Scald is a 2-mana red enchantment that says, when a player taps a island, it deals 1 damage to them. Now use your imagination. Player A successfully hated out blue at our table. Took the fun out of a person out of Player B, who played mono blue in different versions of mono blue, but that was their color. When asked, hey, can you take that out? Like, he was like, why? Like, what do you mean? Why do I have to take it out? Because it's an unfun. Blue doesn't really have ways to handle enchantments. Now, as I've told you in the blue color breakdown, see what I'm doing? Tying this in, right? I've shown you cards that can handle enchantments in blue, right? Even if it is just bouncing it to their hand and counterspelling it. Okay? To my mind, that's a form of chess. Like they know you have it. You know that you got to stop it, It's kind of like that. And that's part of the whole mental capacity of this game. Because this is a mental game at the end of the day. No matter how simple you want to make it. So, getting back on point, right? Mono blue player just decided, no, I'm just not going to blue. I'm not just going to bring blue to the table. I'm like, what? Right. And in Player A's defense, they did lighten up on Scald by going to get a green enchantment that costs 3 called Choke, which says islands cannot untap. You see, they were being funny, right? But that's how much hate that player has. Now, down in the comments, which side of this do you think is right? Okay. Now, I'm gonna add some more information to that. Player B was a extra turns player at our table. Okay. I had that conversation with him. He didn't think there was anything wrong with extra turns. It's like, why is there so much hate for it? And he has his own little combos in the deck. His Lab Maniac, his Thassa's Oracle. Like, he had that in his mono blue tempo decks because they were good cards. They're efficient. They work. Extra turns, right? You can see how that can get degenerate too. That's why I did not feel the need to try to intervene in that, other than the opening conversations with both of them. If more than one person is going to be doing some, like, for lack of a better word, fucked up things at the table, right? You can't police one and not police the other. If you can't do either, you just let them try to balance themselves out. That did not work out. Spoiler alert, that did not work out. Now, the third type of player is the jank player. They're the ones, they're trying to do something very obscure or unique in their opinion. Like, there's a card called, like, they may be trying to do, I know there's, like, the Big Cheese is the unhinged version of this, where it says, like, this enchantment needs to be the only permanent on the field, like, and you win the game. That's the cheese way, but there's an actual card for that. I can't remember the name for it right now. Then there's the players that are like pirate tribal, right? I mean, like, what? Before this new Ixalan came out, pirates were known to suck. Like, yes, you can make anything strong by adding in strong cards, but at the tribe, they were not the best. Ragavan, get out of here. I don't got time for your monkey business. Now, outside of that, it's, that jank has its place, but I don't think jank is real in the sense that it is its own thing. I believe that's player skill at that point. It's the pilot running the deck. And as I said in the first part of this video, the pilot running the deck kind of brings its own level of difficulty in this casual, competitive in between. Okay? Now, player style number 4, the win. I can't stand these players. Not just my personal opinion. They're the player that no matter what, they're here for the win. Okay? They didn't come to do anything fun. They didn't come to do anything fancy. They made a deck that's streamlined for them to get a win. And they may package it in a way that looks amazing. They may package it in a way that, like, you're like, oh, that looks very unique. And then you find out, oh, it's just this. Prime example of that, Slicer. Yes, the red Autobot card that came out really strong. It's mono red Voltron. And that card can end a game in, like, honestly, like, turn 4, 5. Especially if they got fast mana. Especially if they just keep putting artifacts on top of him, Voltron them up, go tall. Have your opponents kill each other because it can't swing at you. Give it double strike. Boom, they out the game. Boom, they out the game. Boom, oh, look, I won. I've had people bring that to a pod, and it's just not a fun experience. You came here to play a game. You didn't come here to give someone a win. And that type of player, they just want the win. And honestly, it's annoying. It's annoying. Now, you've heard me mention Dream Crusher, or I used to say Dream Catcher, but because that's what he's trying to do. But he's just crushing people's dreams as well. Okay. But yeah, Dream Crusher's the type of player to just anything for the win. He plays mono blue counterspell, okay, with the land destruction package built in with Wasteland and Crucible of Worlds and all the free counterspells you can get card drawn through like freaking looting with the Baral Chief of Compliance, which was showcased in the mono blue breakdown. Boom, another tie-in. And they're just not fun. After a certain point of getting in the game, like, you need to know when to turn it down, when to turn it off. And that's a play style that is just toxic. Okay. Now, I'm not going to harp on that too much, though I may spotlight some stories as we go through this video. The next play style is the toolbox. They're that player that they built their deck to be able to answer everything in some form or fashion. They're that freaking mid-range mono green deck that for some reason has Gaia's Blessing in it, just in case they run into a mill player. Yeah, they're that mono red player that has Rolling Vortex or Sulfuric Vortex in their deck that says players can't gain life, just in case they run into a life gain player. The big issue when it comes to the toolbox players, which I personally don't see anything wrong in because it can supplement another playstyle, is that it can lead to conversations where players say, oh, you added that just to beat me, something like that. No, that's like, you should have ways to beat your bad matchups, and I'm a firm believer in that. You probably heard me mention that in other videos. Okay. And honestly, yeah, I think everyone should be some part toolbox, but that's, once again, my personal opinion. Now, these next two play styles are kind of controversial. I have my own personal feelings about them. I think that one of them is hurting the game and the other is kind of gatekeeping, but that's just me. And this is for these are for non-paper, like, people, players. The Renter, which is on, let's say, MTGO, for instance. It's, trust me, you MTGA, aka arena players, they wish they were renting. That's a very expensive thing to do. Okay, so the renters are the ones that are in these programs like Card Hoarder, and they're actively just paying a monthly subscription for a set budget, and they can get whatever cards they want to get, like as many as want to get, as long as it's within that budget. And yeah, that's like, oh my god, that's way more affordable, right? You don't have to deal with the expensive prices and everything, right? But when you have that budget, you don't learn to make do with what you got, because you have everything. You have everything that you're willing to pay that monthly subscription for. And it's very one-sided when you're playing against the other category, which is a buyer. Someone that purchases their cards at every facet of the game. Be it paper, digital, and it can kind of cause a disparity if half of your play group are renters, half of them are buyers. The buyers are making do with the cards that they've invested in over the years, versus the renters who can be like, okay, I'm gonna build this deck this week, I'm gonna build this deck this week, right? That both of those are all right in their own bubbles, but when you mix the two, right, it's very easy for the renter to just be like, well, I know what they're gonna bring, like, and that's cool. It's for them. I'm gonna play this, right? While the buyer they start picking and choosing what cards that they're gonna get, because they know that I'm gonna face like this person who can bring anything. So I'm just going to buy cards that are good for utility. Like, I'm going to buy this card right here because it hits a blanket thing. And personally, I think that's how that situation happened with the skull choke situation versus the mono blue. Because, like, he always brings a form of mono blue. And as I'm sure you can kind of guess by now, like the Gruul player, because red and green makes Gruul, which I'm going to have a video about coming up. It was like, he just counters all my stuff. He just bounces all my stuff. I need a way to make it more of a hassle for him. So boom, I'm going to do it this way. At least for situations like that, when both parties have a broken communication, because, and this is the side point, like based on some interactions I've had in my comments, all right? Some people talking about you need to be more, masculine, assertive, right? I don't know if you all meet those type of Magic players a lot, but the ones I've met have a lot of social deficiencies, and the fact that how they talk to somebody can be seen as rude or disrespectful, or they may not have the social cues to know when something's inappropriate, the personal space boundary. Like, there was a whole big thing about, the trope of social hygiene, like, going on. And honestly, you just need time, patience, and be able to communicate with someone in a way that, hey, don't do this. You may need to work on this. Honestly, I think I'll probably do a whole video just talking about and trying to give people advice on how to talk to people in like actual physical environments versus this internet chat room type situation that the world has become. Yes, I am kind of old, but I'm actually younger than you think. But so that's the whole renter buyer situation. I just wanted to hit that. Okay, this one is going to be kind of short and sweet to the point here. Point number 3, win conditions. People, please. I've touched on this in the mono white breakdown deck. See, I'm really tagging all the videos, huh? You need a win condition. You do. Don't be that person that's sitting there just churning through the deck just because, you're having a good old time. And because you remember, your good time might be a bad time for somebody. Okay? Now, you may ask yourself, what do you mean I need to have a win condition? Like, yes, conceding is a valid win condition. It is. But if you didn't do anything besides waste your pod's time, if you had 4 to 6 people in a game, right? And people throughout the game began to concede, right? Because this is taking too long, or they got locked out, or there was nothing, like they weren't having fun. That's not a win condition. That's you being a bad winner. People hear about sore losers. That's very sore winner behavior. Like, say, well, man, he could have just stuck around. No, he couldn't. Like, they have a life. They have things they have to do in the day. Like, Maulhound, he made an opinion. It was like, hey, I get 1 game a week. Yeah, it's very rude of you not to like allow people to play the game, So always have a win condition. And I've gone through in each of the colors, and I would do the same for the 2 colors and 3 color videos I'll be putting out, where I spotlight, hey, these are common win conditions here. Oh, this is a possible win condition for a strategy that works with these colors. Please take note of these. And at the end of the day, do remember, a good old fashioned beat face deck is fun. It can be as challenging as you want, but creature damage has always been a way to win the game. Yes, your commander can swing. So please, people, try to win the game. Okay, you can win the game without being toxic. You can win the game in a way that is unique, that feels fun, that was hard fought battle. I just had to make sure I special spot for that. Okay. And now we move on to, sorry about that again, a special moment of what's the correct way to concede or leave a game. Honestly, what do you all think that? Please, if you have your own opinion on that, type it down below. I love to interact with all of you. If you are going to need to leave a game, right, or you're going to have to concede, but you don't want to go out without doing anything, is that right to begin with? If you're going, if you know you got to go, right, and you're going to say, I'm going to do a big swing at somebody, right, and after they block or whatever, or I get some damage in, I'm going to concede. Is that king making? Or if boom, this game, it really got away from you, and you're like, none of this matters. I'm gonna just boom, bolt, like start clearing the board real quick. Maybe reset the whole board by bouncing everything to everybody's hands. Is that an all right thing to do? Like, cause you think about it. If you were that player and you were like, man, you really strong armed this game, right? You 3v1, then you were successful, right? And one of the three is getting ready to leave, and they're like, they got pretty much a dumpster this entire game. And before they go, they're just like, you know what? Here. And they path to exile your commander, right? Disenchant one of your engines that you had online, right? And then they just scooped. Is that fair? They're like, no, they put you in the worst possible position and then left. So I just want to throw that out there as a question to the community. Because yes, everyone has their own time frames for playing the game, right? Do you personally believe that when you're going to concede or leave a game before its ending actually arrives, should you just say good game everybody and go? And before a blanket comes like, yeah, this is what you're supposed to do. What if you have an enchantment or something, or artifact or creature that's locking out a problem player for the rest of the pod? But when you leave, that opens the door for them to pop off. How does that play into things as well? So please, give me your opinion down below. I love communicating with my listeners, and that's actually been on my mind a lot recently. Okay. Now, next up is this is now we've made it to the point where it's kind of like story time here. How do you all feel about tunnel vision? And then and I've mentioned it previously, where some players will get a certain boom, you play this card, I hate this card, right? And they'll proceed to just focus you, disregarding everything else that's happening in the game, right? But how do you personally deal with this? Do you have a conversation with the person hey, this is the part of the game, I don't see why that card is such a big thing for you, even though they may have their own emotional issues tied to that card or tied to that playstyle, or and what if people bring the bad vibes carried over from another game that they play with you? Let's say, God, watch this happen, right? There were two players in the pod. One dude was he had an aggressive coin flip combo deck, right? Versus another dude who was a mid-range Naya. There's red, white, and green. Okay. And the Naya dude had been focusing the aggro combo guy in the previous game. So this game, coin flip showed up with the deck that he knows can kill somebody on turn 2 to 3. If he and yes, he did keep that hand with that fast mana to do it. And he proceeded to smack the Naya dude with over 100 damage Like turn like 3 or 4. Got him at the game. Now me and the other dude, I don't know what they were playing at this point, right? We both didn't touch each other at all. We just watched this happen. Like, wow, that is wow. And after that, the 9 dude left. And the coin flip was like, yeah, see, that's what you get. I'm like, what is that? I didn't even know how to react to that. I'm like, wow. I think like that's how you know when your play group is starting to fall apart at the point, because some of these horror stories, like I do not play with these people anymore. Like we're not even friends anymore. So that's just, yeah. So I just want to get your opinion on that too. Like, how do you deal with that? Like, 'cause I can tell you my approach to it, which was I tried to mediate, but if people don't want to communicate, if people don't want to change their ways, and when there's such a disparity between what each person can bring, it's yeah, that's something. And since we are going into this part of the video here, okay, how do you feel about players that get into games together to team up? You know, be it in paper, like, or online. How do you feel about that? I don't think that's fair, personally. I think a game of Commander is, unless you're specifically playing a subset of it, like Two-Headed Giant, where 2 players share a life total, right? And they're actively trying to beat the other team. It's not, I don't think it's fair. I've watched it, right? I think another term for it's called gianting. Like, I've heard stories of people doing it to, just random groups that they get into. And it's all good and fun for the friends, but the other 2 players got in the game like, wow, this is not fair at all. They're actively just ganging up on us. And it forces them to have to team up too. And what if they didn't want to? What if their deck isn't designed to have a teammate at the table, right? I don't think that's fair. I think if you call someone out on that stuff, right, most of the time you're going to be met with some very toxic, derisive, or derisive, depending on how you just want to say it, like antics. Now, I'm like, if I'm playing a game of Commander, it is, unless it's one of the subsets, it is a free-for-all. We can have temporary partnerships, but this is not a team game. And that's a messed up little like subset in the community that be doing that. And I've gone on my little tangents this video, but that's part of the end talks, kind of built into that. Final point, the 1v1 mindset that some players are bringing to Commander. Some of you may be surprised by this, but Commander is meant for a community. It's meant to be a group game. Yet there are some people out there, like Dream Crusher, who I mentioned earlier, that play this game, that play Commander itself as a 1v1 format. They play because they say, oh, I like the extra life. I like more variety in my cards versus the efficiency focus and competitive focus of a 60 card format. In my mind, I'm like, but these are the same people that will quote unquote spike out a table. They play a lot of things that are just designed to like let them win, get them to win by any means necessary, right? But at the same time, what was that? Like, so what do you mean? Like, you came here with this, like, to play Commander, but your deck is only made to fight in 1v1s. As in, you focus one person to table out at a time. Like, you can't even split up your damage right because your deck doesn't work right at that point. How do you all How do y'all handle those situations? You ever met a player that they play commander just for the 1v1s? Like they come and sit down, but they're not trying to join a group commander game. They're asking individual players, "Hey, you want to play commander?" Like, "Oh yeah, can I join?" "Oh no, it's just just 1v1." It's like, is that commander? I don't think it is. I think if you're going to play a 99 card game that was designed for at least 4 people in a 1v1, you should just get better at playing the 60 card. You do know that the deck doesn't have to be 60 cards. Yes, efficiency is 60 with a 15 card sideboard. But you look at the Yorion deck, it's an 80 card deck. You can do that in a quote unquote 60 card format. And your deck will still work if you build it that way. But you will be going against more streamlined decks. And I think a lot more players, because as you know, Commander became the product, the format for Magic for recent years. So a lot of players that were competitive moved over. And that's CDH has always been a home for that. But a lot of these other players are coming in playing with these casual group people with this competitive mindset, and they don't see nothing wrong with it. And that's the issue. They fall into the in-between, which I stated in the first part of this 2-part video. But no one, like the rules committee of Commander, they are very pick and choose, with what they're going to address in the community. And honestly, they need to get ahead of this. There's a reason why the average age for Magic players are like 30s, because now a lot of young people can afford this game. And let's be honest, if some of how these people are acting online, all right, is how they act in real life, and you meet them at a local game store, LGS or something like that, and they bring the same kind of energy, there's just a setup for something bad to happen. Okay. Now, that 6 card mindset, I truly believe they need to just learn how to play, or just bring a bigger size deck. Haha, words. To play one of these 6 card formats and just learn it. Because they're taking away the spirit of Commander. And who are you to say what the spirit of Commander is? You're right. Who am I? I'm just a voice on the internet. You're just listening to my talk show. Thank you for that. But yeah. But that's all, people. That's all we have time for today here at Indy 5.18. And as always, I have been your host, Ender. Thank you for joining me for another edition of the End Talks here in the back roads of the mind. You all be safe and be well. And remember, live your best life. Peace, everybody.